Good afternoon. I'm Drew Holley with BIS Benefits. This is America's most boring podcast. We're going to talk about insurance today. I'm joined by Jesse and Eric. Jesse is one of our producers and partners at our insurance agency. But on the commercial side, we really rely on strategic partners, long-standing relationships. Eric works at RT Specialty, which is, for inside the industry, wholesale broker for you. Think of it as a broker's broker. Eric works with multiple insurance agencies throughout Metro Atlanta to help us really go deep and know what should be covered or not, what the gotchas might be. And that's a big thing with liability, commercial insurance. So let's talk just briefly today about technology, commercial liability. There's a lot of buzzwords. You can't have a podcast without talking AI. But we just had a conversation recently about cyber insurance and how is technology impacting that? What does a business need to know? Is anything changing recently? Are carriers requiring more because of the advancement of technology?
As we all know, the world is moving more towards technology. Everyone keeps all of their employee information on their network. A lot of companies hold a lot of sensitive data for their clients on their network. They have access to their clients' network. And so all those technology components really create a whole new risk out there that wasn't really that prevalent 20, 30 years ago. I've been in the industry about 20 years now, and when I was first starting out, cyber liability was pretty much a brand new product and pretty cutting edge and was really only available for technology services companies, software type companies. But now it's come to the point where really all companies have a lot of tech exposure. Even a contractor going out in the field and doing plumbing work still has that exposure. So at the end of the day, it's obviously different from a tech company, but just really educating and trying to get our head around what types of technology services our clients may have and what we can do to make sure they have the right insurance to cover them.
Yeah, and of course, just adding on to that, with cyber liability, as we know, just from seeing our own clients, the level of sophistication from the bad actors who are trying to infiltrate companies' networks, try to exploit that, drum up ransomware attacks, social engineering schemes to have money wired out fraudulently. It's just getting more and more sophisticated. And no matter what you do to improve your cybersecurity stature within your own network, these bad actors are always trying to find a new avenue of infiltrating that and then using it to exploit you. So as you mentioned, like a contractor, you would think, contractors have exposure. They don't have a ton of data. However, most of their infrastructure relies on a network, which if that were to be shut down or compromised, they could easily be exploited as it would shut down the operation itself and slow down your progress. And like a manufacturer, for example, they could shut down the manufacturing plant. And then even for like a law firm, you would think, they have a lot of data. They do have a lot of data. And they are actually one of the biggest targets right now in our industry from what we've seen, because they will be exploited if you do not provide us, say 100,000 Bitcoins, then we're going to release all your clients' information online on the dark web.
A business owner policy is a very generic, hey, this is going to give you some broad of liability. In that example, is that something that you have to have like a cyber insurance policy to kind of cover if someone maliciously gets access to your server and your client information?
Yes. And I think that's the big disconnect. A lot of times people think that their business owner policy, their GL policy is going to provide some coverage for that. And there might be a little sliver of coverage for it, but to get the true coverage, you would actually need a true cyber liability policy to protect that. So, and there's, of course, a ton of exposure if someone's able to access your network, depending on what you're doing, the level of information you have. So.
Yeah, I think one of the most annoying things about coming in or working hybrid or getting on a computer is these extra steps, two-step authentication, log in and go through. That's really kind of been driven by really just insurance claims. Is that a fair assessment?
Correct. Yeah, when the pandemic occurred in 2020, all these companies had to open up their networks for their employees to work remote. Well, unfortunately, it allowed bad actors to exploit that very quickly, and that's really what drove such a tightening and hardening of the cyber marketplace after 2020, 21, 22, just due to the claims because of that. And now you're seeing that a lot of insurance carriers, they won't even insure businesses if they don't have certain levels of cybersecurity controls, including multi-factor authentication.
So that two-step, when you log into your online banking, that's called two-step authentication. Pretty much what we're seeing in the marketplace. Jesse, would you agree with this?
Yeah, there's certain carriers that it's just a non-starter if they don't have the two-step authentication. A lot of it has to do with remote work. If you have people, like you said, work from home because of the pandemic, or just people like working from home now. So the carriers won't allow them to buy cyber insurance unless they have that multi-factor for remote access. And also just email is a big part of it. We're seeing, I think, most of the cyber crime claims that we see are someone...
To a compromised email account, yeah.
Yeah, so people get on the email and they trick their vendors or clients or themselves to send money. And
They take over the CEO's email account, they tell their person in accounting, wire $50,000 to this vendor overnight, and it gets done. No one questions it because it's the CEO's email.
That's right. And so we'll end on this. My biggest lesson, because I'm a business owner as well, so we have a vested interest in protecting our company, our employees. A business owner policy has broad blanket protection, but without a doubt, not nefariously, it's the cost. You're paying for the cost of that protection. If you want to add more protection, you're going to have to look at something like cyber, but just technology, to answer today's question, unfortunately has allowed more exposure. Therefore, the carriers are going to say, well, because we have more risk of paying claims, you need to buy this specific policy or add this so that we can protect you. And if you're listening and you only have a business owner policy and you might see one line item that says cyber, unfortunately, it usually means you have a lot of gaps where it won't cover. And so that's what's changed biggest with technology. Thank you all for coming in. And if you have any questions related to this or you just want a free policy review, you can visit bisbenefits.com. Thank you.